Welcome, my wayward warriors. I am the magical medium, and welcome to this beautiful spiritual guidance channel. The song playing into our reading today is called Holistic Intention. I listened to it before. Oh, look at that. It'll just burn off, but look at this is how much. This is rosemary. This is how much that needs to burn away, because normally it wouldn't burn like that. But boy, that's powerful. So today, as we approach this reading, Spirit wants us to remember to approach it with holistic intention. Because now I'm like, I can't help my 3D, human that wants to control everything is like, well, why didn't you tell me I should have started with the music? Blah, blah. And they're like, because it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. I had a really rough morning. And I've been trying to control things, and I didn't realize that I was trying to control it until I got like a smack in my face from Spirit. And there are 4 piles before you. Each one is a representation of a different tree. From left to right, we have pile number 1, locust, pile number 2, palm tree, pile number 3, apple tree, pile number 4, maple. Also, the ant is back. It's the lone ant. I don't know what's going on. He's so little too. And it feels masculine energy. I keep saying he because it feels like a masculine energy. So, we've been talking about this for our last few readings. Ants are all about patience. This deck was actually created by one of my shamans that I walked with for 2 years, who is I wouldn't label them. They're not really into labels, but if I were to give them labels for you to understand, they're a practicing shaman. They are a natural witch. They come, half of their lineage is from the Middle East, and half their lineage is from Native American. Very powerful. So she and her beautiful artist friend created this deck, and it's called Wisdom of the Tall Ones. It has a book that comes with it. I don't have them all memorized, and I was going crazy trying to control. I'm like, where's the book? Why? I'm a very, very organized person. I leave things in the same place on purpose. And I was getting so mad, and Spirit was just like, and then I realized what was going on. The Dark Mirror deck up here to the right, the Dark Mirror deck wanted to come in. So I was like, okay, we've got some serious medicine happening here today, you guys. So I'm just going to put a little disclaimer on here, and I'm going to put it on there as well, that if you're not ready to hear some tough love, if you're not ready, and that's okay. Sometimes we're in a really fragile state, and we don't want to hear it. Sometimes we don't want to hear things, and that's okay. That's our choice. That's our free will. So come back to this reading on another day when you're feeling a little bit stronger. But if you're in a place right now where you're like, no, I need to hear it. I need some tough love. I need this right now. Then I highly suggest you stay around, because we are in the 7th phase of the moon. I'm going to bring out my calendar because we've got a lot going on. We are in the 7th phase of the moon phase, and it is the transition and forgiveness phase of the 3rd quarter moon. So with that being said, look at the ant crawling around. At first I didn't say anything because it was crawling around one pile, and I didn't want to, because this is all about like what you feel, But now I'm like, they're just crawling around willy-nilly. They're like, patience, patience, my loves, my children, have some patience. And I brought the rosemary in for protection because I was just feeling like a lot of us are going through some really heavy stuff. We need to burn it away. I know we just came out of Aries season, but it's like it needs to burn away. Look at that. Don't worry, it won't go too far. I'll let it go before it goes too far. But let's burn that away. Close your eyes, take some deep breaths. Whatever makes you feel good, whatever way you want to breathe. I heard dragon's breath. Yeah, that's a good one. Look at how the pieces are fading away. Yes. Let this energy of the rosemary burn away anything that no longer serves us. We don't want to be in pain. We don't want to suffer. We don't have to suffer here. You know what's interesting? I don't know what cards you guys are going to be pulled in your pile, but I always, not always, but a lot of times before I started reading, I always say, are there any messages for me before I start this? You know, anything you want me to say to the tribe? And oh, look at, there's the ant. Oh no, it's a spider. Look, oh my gosh. Okay, you guys. So when I started, you seen that spider, right? The little black spider? It was in between the locust and the palm. Back up if you didn't see it. But let me tell you something. Layla, my shaman, literally on the deck, like as her name, it's Layla Lee, Dancing Spider Woman. That's her Native American name, is Dancing Spider Woman. I can't make this shit up. I mean, it's not like I have a trained fucking little spider. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I probably could. But that's what I'm telling you, because she's old medicine. This is old medicine. This is no fucking joke. This is like, you know, you guys, I just have to say it like it is. I watch some of these readers, and they're like these sweet, soft voices. And I do. I mean, when it comes out, it comes out. But sometimes it's like, I can tell, like, no. It's like my triple fire and my water were put here for a reason. You know, that's why I have no fear of fire. When I was, actually, a little side note, when I was a little girl, I fell in the embers. Like they had just put out the campfire, like just put it out. Like where it's like, when you look down, it's like moving. It looks like it's moving because it's all red and coals and stuff. When I was a little girl, when I was like around 5, I tripped and fell. And I fell backwards. And my first instinct was to put my hands down. And I fell into the fire. Yeah. I looked like an alien. I had like 15 blisters on each hand. I was like it was like, you know, like suction cups or something. It was painful. So I learned about fire at a very young age and how powerful it was. And even when the fire was out, just how much it could burn. So if you're feeling an elemental, earth, air, fire, water, metal, really strongly right now, work with it. Even though we're in the Taurus energy, which is earth, you know, work with it. Your job is to look up each of these trees and look up their spirit medicine, because they have spirit medicine. Everything has spirit medicine. So you'll look up locust tree, palm tree, apple tree, maple tree, spirit medicine, and they'll tell you what it is. So those are your piles. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, I'm sure, but I feel like I want to like dive into this because it's going to be really, really heavy. I can feel it already. I mean, the dark mirror is no joke. Also, I want to preface by saying that the dark mirror was written in another language. I believe the base language was Spanish. So sometimes I'll have to take a minute and read it so that I can translate it for you, because I'll read things and I'm like, that's not how you would say that in English, but I have to like try and like figure it out, you know? So have patience. Maybe that's why the ant is saying that, you know, this is one to take some deep breaths, okay? Because we're going to be talking about transition and forgiveness. And it's basically, you know, it's messages that you need to hear from spirit on transition and forgiveness through each of these medicines. And maybe you're drawn to more than one tree. The one thing spirit wants me to say though is, go by more of what you're drawn to right this moment, like imagery, you know, it could be anything. You know, not necessarily like, oh, I love palm trees, so I'm going to pick palm trees. Maybe that's for you and that's cool. And maybe you'll go to it. But if you start listening to it and you're like, I don't know if this really applies to my story, to my narrative, then, you know, go back and pick another one. And sometimes, this is the interesting thing. Sometimes if you have an aversion to something, that's your medicine. But you're going to go to the nice thing like, oh, yay, palm trees. Oh, my fun spring break in Florida. You know what I mean? Like, think it back to the past. But remember, the dark mirror cards are talking about our shadow self. If you've never had readings from me or any other readers from this deck, it is no joke. And, you know, if you can see up here, this is a skeleton with a crown. You know, so it's really, really no joke. We're talking about shadow. We're talking about our shadow side, the dark night of the soul. And, you know, I've been saying for a while now that spirit has shown us that our tribe right now are in 3 different stages. We're all in different stages of the dark night of the soul. Some have just entered or about to enter. Some are right smack dab in the middle of it. And some are at the end pulling out of it and going towards the light. You're done, at least for now, in that stage of your life. You're done with that. You've learned the lessons. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind also when you're choosing your piles. I don't know if they're going to have me use any emojis or anything. On my phone, I only have like, I think two tree emojis. I don't know if I have. I actually no. I think there is a palm tree. I'll see what if they call me to. You know, because maybe it's the emoji you'll be drawn to. Either way, I hope you enjoy this reading. Thank you so much for being here. And again, I want to say thank you to the new subscribers. Welcome. And to all of our subscribers that have been with us from the beginning, the middle, and right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I honor you as you honor me. Also, like, subscribe, share. This is how we're getting the medicine out there. You know, because most of you on here we all have psychic ability. Some of ours are a little bit stronger than others if we work with it all the time. But if you're like, I need to post this reading, post it on your social media, because the more we share these readings, the more we're casting the net wide. And right now, more than ever, we need our tribe. We need all of us to like stand up and wake up. And the fact that we've been leaning more towards this darkness, it doesn't surprise me, because in real time today, like I said, it's the third quarter moon. So do you guys remember when one of the other readings I did where I spoke about April having every Saturday from the 9th to the 30th was something? First quarter moon, full moon, last quarter new moon. Well, today is no different. Today is the last quarter moon. We're on the 23rd, but exactly a week from today is the new moon, the partial solar eclipse, and it's a black moon, because we had a new moon on the 1st of April, and now we're having a new moon on the 30th. Whenever you have two, that's why they call it a blue moon when it's a full moon like that, two full moons in a cycle, or when it's a moon cycle, or when it's a new moon. And so it doesn't surprise me that they're having us like a week out getting ready for what we're going to be dealing with, because not only do we have that black moon a week from today on the 30th, but then on May 10th, Mercury goes retrograde, and then on the 15th and the 16th overnight, over the penumbra, as they call it, moon, we were going to have a total lunar eclipse, a full moon in Scorpio. So basically the next 3 or 4 weeks are going to be really intense, but then, we will be having that Mercury in retrograde until it goes direct on the 2nd of June. So the next 6 weeks, are going to they're going to push us in a lot of different ways. So they're here to give us some help during that. So without further ado, I will see you over at your pile. Thank you so much for being here. If you would like to book a one-on-one session with me, or buy a recorded session, or if you'd like to donate to this tribe, all of the information is in the description box below. But also I put things down there from Spirit, extra little things for us to research. Okay? So I will see you over at your pile. I love you so much. Bye. Welcome, pile number 1. If you chose this pile, you chose the locust tree. And again, that's for you to look up. Even if you want to pause right now, because I don't even know. Like I said, I don't have the book, and I don't remember, specifics. There are many cards in that deck, and each one has a different description. The cool thing about this deck is that Layla, my shaman, I don't know if you watched the intro to this, but she created this deck with a friend of hers, and I'm so sorry I can't think of her friend's name right now, but it's on the deck cover. Anyway, she is a painter, so she did paintings of all these trees, and then they took pictures of them, and then Layla did all of the spirit messages, spirit medicine behind it. Really cool. I'm actually going to pull this in a little bit. I feel like this wants to come in a little bit closer. So each tree has a meaning. But I will say this, I love this because it looks like a sun back here. And I can't tell if this is a tree, but this kind of looks like mountains back there. And the way this is moving, because this looks like, to me anyway, this looks like grass and that looks like water. So, that could be why you chose it. So let's hear what transition and forgiveness you need to work on right now while we're going through while we're working with these shadow cards. Ooh, the Masquerade. The Masquerade. Number 15, which is also the number 6. Oh yeah, I forgot that they do the moon cycles on these cards. I don't use these cards all the time. They're very heavy, and like I said, it deals with the shadow. Also, I'm feeling this need to go really slow today. Almost like you guys need a break. Like maybe everything around you has just been busy, 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 busy. So you need a little more quiet. Let me find the book. I'll be right back. Okay, so I don't know if you watched the beginning of this, but I was saying like I couldn't find the book for Layla's cards for the Tree of Life. Not Tree of Life. Oh, that's interesting, Freudian slip. But the Wisdom of the Tall Ones, that's what the tree cards are from. And right before I started, I had the book for the Dark Mirror. Oh my gosh, Spirit, thank you. I'm like, I just heard them go, the book is up there. I'm like, oh yeah, because they had me move the trajectory. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm normally way more organized than this. I am just feeling a very, I don't know, very uneasy. Even getting this reading together just felt like really uneasy. I'm just feeling an uneasy vibe. So, this was the other card that you pulled, and they asked me to bring it out with the masquerade, and I understood the second I saw it. So now that you know it says bride in a cage, I want you to really look at that imagery. I mean, look at, she's got like lasers holding her back. Like it's like, it's like one of those things like when you see us in a spy movie and they have to like crawl through the lasers kind of thing, but it's like, how could she possibly? I mean, there's so much going on in this imagery. The skeleton, like what's that piece of paper tucked inside her dress? I was like, what is happening there? And it's also corseted, the bride. And just that little ant, if you didn't watch the beginning of this, the ant is back, the rogue ant. So ants are all about patience, and boy, they are just seriously like talking to us through the ant right now. So look up ant spirit medicine if you didn't before, and even if you did before, look it up again because something else will pop up, or look at like maybe there's some other message. And everybody's working from their own level of consciousness. So even if you're like, oh, I know about ant medicine. Well, but maybe through somebody else's eyes, you'll get a different perspective. So I just think it's interesting that we have masquerade and bride in a cage. And also, like, I don't need to know the locust tree to know what locusts are. Like, I don't know if that's what it is. Maybe they call it a locust tree because that's where the locusts hang out. I'm not sure. You'll have to research that. And when they do that, it's because, think about it, when you research something on your own, you retain the knowledge more because you have to do the energy and you have to do the exercise of actually like going in and looking it up. Even if it's just on your phone, it's like you still have to like Google it or whatever search engine you use, So it's about retaining the information, because if I keep looking things up and just giving them to you, you may not retain it as much. Sometimes they have me give you guys things and that's fine. Other times it's like, no, that's the whole purpose, is they want you to start doing the work. So now that I found the book, we're going to go to it, but that is so interesting. So we've got masquerade and we've got bird. I keep wanting to say bird in a cage, bride in a cage. Let's see what masquerade has to say. So also, they call it the 7 stages of death, because this deck, this dark mirror and the dark night of soul, is when we're going through the dark night of the soul, all that is that we're going through a harsh, massive transition. It's not an easy one. If it was an easy one, it would be called the sunshine and roses, happy sunshine. You know what I mean? Like, it would be called something else. It's called the dark night of the soul for a reason. And nobody wants to go there. Who really wants to do that, right? It's not fun. It sucks. It's hard. When I looked down, it was 1919. So that's your angel number. So since in this deck, there's a lot going on. We have visuals. We have downloaded spirit information that this person put into the book through words. But then we have the 7 stages of death, and we have the moon phase. I think it's very interesting that we just came off of the waning gibbous, and this is the waning gibbous. And right now we're 3rd quarter. So whenever you watch this, it's timeless, of course, the message. But in real time, very interesting that we just came out of the waning gibbous. And now we're in the transition and forgiveness of the third quarter moon. Very, very, very interesting. So it says, moon phase waning gibbous, and the 7 stages of death is bargain. You're in the bargaining phase. This says, what I can't have forever, I will have for a minute. What I can't have for a minute, I will hold to me for 1 second. The visual seed is, so I'm going to bring this a little bit closer. I don't know if it's going to stay up. I'll see if I can get a rock or something. Ooh, nice. Because I really want you to look at this card. A man's face, young in the flesh and in posture, with a wide open shirt. Over him appears the most complicated and baroque hat, straight from a Venetian carnival. Yeah, right? Like, how cool is that hat? And it says the sentence, under the guise of Cupid, I will come to you. Under the guise of a thief, I will fly away. Going dark. It says there is often guilt in taking the mask of Don Juan or Donna Juana. The seducer is not a master of love, neither of manipulation. He is the master of the ephemeral, of what is fleeting and brief and transient to the extreme. He is the master of the moment, and as such, he forgot all other kind of eternity. There is guilt if you care, because you are not building. There is guilt out of loss, because you are not treasuring. There is guilt out of indifference, because when you don't care, you cheat yourself of meaning and value. Sometimes there is guilt in the selflessness, in the desire itself, and everything leading to pleasure, as if the only pleasure that can be sacred are only those labeled as such. The masquerade is a dance. It is a road that goes in circles and ebbs and flows, and always ends with the first light. Before the time comes, hold it tightly. When the time comes, let it go. Wow. So transition and forgiveness. What do you need to let go? What do you need to transition out of and let go? I mean, it's pretty, this one is like, Captain Obvious, we can see visually right now, like what's happening with this bride. Also, when I paused, I looked down and it said 2228. So if that means anything to you guys, it's also the number 14, which is the number 5, which is change and transformation. But on this card, it's number 21, and it's bride in a cage. So, I just got the chills. So the moon phase is the waning crescent, which again, really popular, powerful. All these Freudian slips. What's going on with you guys? Because we are in 7, third quarter transition and forgiveness, but the next phase is the waning crescent, literally. Next week until the new moon on April 30th, it's the rest and restore phase of the waning crescent. So, wow, pile number 1, you guys, When I looked down, it was 2313. And for those of you who are new, when I blurt out numbers or things like that, that's stuff from, I'm literally channeling. So that's, I just looked down, it was 2323. 5, change. But also 5 and 5 is 10, which is the end of a cycle. Take off the 0, number 1, beginning of a new cycle. This is powerful, you guys. This is powerful. This is some serious shit. This is like, if you don't want to hear this right now, whatever phase you're in right now, think about this. Masquerade was the phase before, right where we are today, and this is the phase after. So take from that what you will, okay? So also the stage is denial, because the masquerade is bargaining. Well, maybe if I do this, maybe if I do that. That was the bargaining phase of the masquerade. What if you can't change it. You can't control it. You can't change this person. You can't control this person. Trust me, I just had a fight with my partner this morning about this same thing. I was just like, this must be my pile. I'm in the tribe too. I'm just chilling. Because they're not doing what I want them to do, or they're not. And I realized I'm like, all I can do is just bite my tongue and allow them, hold space for them and support them while they go through it, or I walk away. That's all I can do. And I watch them struggle today when they're just like, I'm doing the best I can. I'm like, I know you are. Like, I'm like, I'm just saying, like, but for me and where I'm at, I'm like, I can't keep going through these loops with you. And if you're in a relationship with somebody, and just because it says bride in a cage, this may be, obviously that's specific for some of you that are in a relationship, right? Um, because otherwise it would just say a bird in a cage, or person in a cage, or woman in a cage, or whatever. And but either way, we're talking about divine feminine. And in the last card, the masquerade, even though I'll zoom in, even though that card is a little more androgynous, it feels more masculine. So we're talking about the balance of masculine and feminine here. So this could even be for those of you who aren't in a relationship, but you feel like this applies to you. This could be a relationship with yourself. This could be a relationship, with a family or a friend. It feels very romantic, but not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of you and only 4 piles. So, take from it what you will. My throat chakra, speak your truth. My throat chakra, that doesn't happen to me, you guys, except for when I'm doing readings. That's how I know. Like when my body starts to be affected, like my knees were sore, my ankles were sore. I'm like, what's going on? Like I feel like for some of you, like you're overworked, you're overtired, your body's run down. Like, I mean, look at her. She's a skeleton. She doesn't have anything left. She's just like, she's barely even there. There's barely anything. There's barely any life there. It's like there's like death in the face. And I didn't notice this until before. I'm like, look at that. Can you guys see that? It's a dog. Do you see that? I always thought all this time, because my eyes aren't that great, I thought it was like I have kanji and Chinese on my body. That's what I thought it was. And I just realized, you see that? It's like a dog. So like the fact that they're pulling my eyes to that must mean something. So maybe you guys have, an animal or children and you're just like, you don't understand. Like, I can't just like walk away. Like I can't, but you know what? When I hear that from people, I get frustrated, because I've done it. I didn't have children, but I had animals, and when you don't have children, animals are like your children. So, I know what that's like. I've been through a divorce. I've lived with people. I understand, and it's not easy. There's nothing easy about walking out or leaving, or, you know what I mean? There's nothing easy about it. But before you were in the bargaining stage, and now the bride in a cage is the denial stage. And it says, tomorrow will be the right moment. Tomorrow will be better, even if today is hell. That's the tagline for this card. And the visual seed is, a gorgeous white wedding dress shines through the neon gray artificial light of the evening. It is worn by a mannequin with a disassociated skeleton head. It seems like a happy place, if not for the light. The mannequin stares at the outside while a purple laser grid cage holds it in. Ugh. I love how they talk about like the grid of it too, because that's what I saw too. Like it's like what's going to happen if you go through the lasers? Like, are those lasers going to burn through you so you can't walk through it, or is it like if you walk through the lasers, you're going to set the alarm off, and that's going to like all hell's going to break loose, and the cops are going to show up. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I feel like for you guys. Like, nothing's going to happen to you if you break through this, but only you can break through it. Like, nobody else can help you do that. You have to find the strength. You have to muster the strength. You have to say, you know what? This is not working for me. I don't feel right here. I don't feel comfortable here. We are in different places. This is never going to change. Ooh, when I look down, 28, that's a big one for me. So the sentence is, did we die waiting for the perfect day, or were we never alive? To go dark in this card, it says, when we put the good of our life just in our expectations, we can dismiss the present. Waiting for the dawn we know will arrive. The future becomes a shopping cart. It needs a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a few kilograms of that, and also a couple of boxes of other, and a couple of boxes of another this and another that. This is translated from another language, so I apologize. When we look at it, it shines like a brand new day in a commercial. And as it happens with commercials, when the future comes, it's not exactly perfect. The smile is forced. The day is too hot or too cold. The kiss is dry. The lion limps softly and doesn't roar. Blah, blah, blah. As long as something is not here, but is pushed further along the timeline, we have the luxury to take it off of reality and treat it as a fantasy. We push forward and we push forward until we actually catch up with our dream, and then we crush. The future should not feel like a cage, not even a gilded, wonderful, handmade designer cage. The future is a tree, gnarled, rough to the touch, full of flowers only in spring, dense and damp through the rain. It's absolutely perfect. So, I just got the chills. Very powerful. Let's see if we do have any more messages, Spirit, for pile number 1. Do we have any more messages for the transition and forgiveness energy? Interesting. Number 29, anger and chains, which is also the number 11. Anger and chains. And isn't it interesting? We were just talking about the lion in that last one. Look at the lion in there. Like, really look at this picture. I'm going to try and see if I can go back here a little bit so you guys can see it. By the way, interesting that the rosemary like basically lit itself on fire. So you guys need to smudge your house, smudge you. Rosemary is so good for smudging. I want you to research rosemary. It obviously came to you for a reason. So work with rosemary. I'm assuming a lot of you are powerful magicians and witches. I have a lot of different things here I can burn. I've got cedar, I've got sage, I've got clary sage, I've got, you know what I mean? Like I've essential oils. But interesting how they had me cover that up, but my eyes went to that masquerade card again. And look at, there's a, like an X marks the spot. So in the moon phase, we're in the waning crescent, which again is next week. So there's something really tied to you guys on a timeline here. Like I said, whenever you watch it, it's timeless. So it would, you know, go along the next moon phase. But if you're in real time and you're watching this right now on this 3rd quarter moon or within a few days, well, obviously by the time you watch it, we'll be going, because the waning crescent is the energy in between the 3rd quarter and the new moon. So by the time you watch this, it'll be going into it anyway. And the stage is anger. So anger and chains, forced, channeled, outside, unreasonable, undirected, but powerful. The visual seed says lions and sparks and chains and signs. Interesting. And lines all metal together, geometry and colors like an explosion. And I feel like Spirit's telling me, like, this is your mind. It's like, I feel like the lion's like, get me out of here. This was me today. I'm like, get me out of here. Right? Like, you know, I feel like you're in the middle of this chaos. There's just chaos around you all the time. Just chaos, chaos, chaos. And you're like, there's like this lion inside of you that's like just clawing to roar to get out there. But you're wearing the masquerade. That's why my eyes keep coming back there, because you're in denial. You're still in this bargaining stage. You're bargain, denial, and anger. And they're saying, do you see though? It's like you can try and bargain your way out of it, right? You can go through all these different stages, but it's like all it's going to do is bring out the anger, because you're in bargaining and denial, and that's what's making you angry. It's like because you're not doing what you want to do. You're literally like basing your entire existence, it feels like to me, like on another person or a job or a place, or it could be more than one person. And the sentence says, I've got to break free. Oh, I want to break free. And I literally heard Freddie go, I've got to break free. You know that song? I want to be free. Yes. So if I remember, I'll put it below. And it says, going dark, anger is not the road to clarity. It's not a controlled effort or a cold dish. It is raw, primal, explosive. It is the loss of reason, the loss of restraint, a bomb burning bright in black color, a wax seal carefully crafted to be immediately broken. But anger is also freedom. How can you break a single thread woven with a million others? How can you unfetter yourself from a bad situation, letting all the rest unchanged? It doesn't work like that. When you need to break free, you need to shake and shout and let it out. And more things will be broken than just what you want to hurt. This was translated, so we'll take this. So it doesn't work like that. When you need to break free, you need to shake and shout, and more things will be broken than just what you want to hurt. That's pretty heavy. They are like a bundle. You can target, but you cannot choose. break many to break one, save one to save many. And that's how it is for you guys. You're powerful light workers. I feel like you're trying to save one person when there's like a plethora of people around you that need you right now. And I feel like you are at your strongest, like you are at your best when you are like not concerning yourself with what's happening all around you from other people. Any more messages for this pile, Spirit? Yeah, I saw this one. So let's put anger and chains right here. Let's see if it'll stay up there. Anger and chains. Okay. So our next card, ooh, interesting. Number 8. I feel like the number 8's significant for you guys too. And some, like right when I saw it, out of the other ones, out of all the cards that had numbers, this one really like hit me. It says the child I was meant to be. Yes. Oh my goodness, you guys. Yes, the child I was meant to be. You are not, you didn't come here to play small. You came here to change the world. I really feel that, you guys. Whoever you are, pile number 1, like I just have this really, really strong, good feeling about you guys. Interesting how I was like fighting with this card, and then all of a sudden it was like when it faced away from everything else. See how the card is like facing more to the right now, where before it was like more to the left. That's really powerful because that's you. When you are doing what you love, your art, your creative stuff, you know, it's like, I feel like, you know, the ant just came back. It's by me now. But they're bringing up the patience again because they're like, you know, remember what you came here to do. And, you know, I feel like Spirit's saying to you, we've been patient long enough with you. You have to make a move now. This is in the transition phase and forgiveness. Next, it'll be rest and restore. Then we'll have the new moon. And that's about, you know, new beginnings, setting new intentions, like really, really doing like honing in on it through meditation, through readings, through, you know, whatever you need to do, a walk through the woods, a drive to clear your mind and get away from this person or this situation or these people. Really get away. If it's a work situation, you know what I mean, but feels like a marriage, then, you know, it's like, then you need to take a vacation. Even if it's just like, I'm going to take Friday and Monday off and take a nice 4-day vacation. You know, leave like after work on Wednesday if you can. So you give yourself like really some time away from everything and everyone. So interesting how the moon phase is full. And the next full moon will be the full moon in Scorpio, which is very interesting because, you know, it's also the 8th house, Scorpio. So very interesting that you're the number 8. And I feel like that's going to mean something for you guys. I feel like from now until the full moon in Scorpio, like, you know, and again, if you're watching this outside of this timeline, the next full moon cycle. But the stage in this one is acceptance. Now look at that. Acceptance. Look at how far you've come. It says an instant of clarity is the light I need. The visual seed is tones of lemon yellow and plum magenta with castings of sky blue and bright morning white. The serene face of a woman with gentle gesture holds a small growing plant made of dreams and new leaves. The sentence is, to go forward is to go backward, as hope heals the wounds of the past. The going dark is, there is little darkness in this card. It is a card of connection with ourselves, so many times it feels like a dream. It's fleeting, uncertain, and yet clear. Rooster Spirit Medicine. Look up Rooster Spirit Medicine. The moment you close your hand to grasp it, it turns into fairy light and disappears. But it remains as a lingering smell, an ephemeral feeling of light and peaches and blossoms. It is faith. It is hope. It is a warm smile at the other side of the forest of smoke and mirrors. Right? We can be whole again. We can be pure again. We can be happy again. No matter what we did, we can. Just know that this is a gift of light among the cruel darkness. It brings no road, sometimes no solace, but it can become a seed of hope, a wind of change, a place for safety in the storm. Even if it's gone, it was definitely here. And what Spirit, we're going to close with that. And what Spirit is saying is, you know, sometimes we linger in the past because even something that isn't comfortable becomes comfortable, because if we have to change it, that means we have to change something that we're not ready to let go of. And whatever this is for you, it's different for all of you, pile number one. You know, insert here your own situation. Now is the time for you to flourish, to grow. Also, if you're in the northern hemisphere and in the southern hemisphere, because spring and fall are the time of planting seeds. Some seeds have to be planted in fall to bloom in spring, just as seeds in spring have to be planted to bloom in the fall. So give yourself some time. It could even mean that, you know, it's until the Scorpio energy. I just feel a lot of Scorpio energy. It could be you, could be the person you're dealing with, but I just feel a lot of Scorpio energy in this card. Like I said, the other cards had numbers, but this was the first one that I was like, it just felt like it was really connected to something bigger. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I love you. Know you are not alone, and ask for their help. They cannot help you. Your spirit guides, you know, obviously there are some that are here that are meant to make sure that you know, don't die when you're not supposed to and those kind of things. But in terms of like going through this on your own, you came here for a reason, to work things out. Also, spirit is drawing my mind to that if you look at this chaos back here, it's very reminiscent. Can you see that? Let me see if I can. Do you see how like this tree and this imagery, like your locust tree and that imagery, how they both look very busy, you know, and kind of like scattered, like there's no rhyme or reason, even in Masquerade's hat. But when you look at her, everything's more simple. Even her, it's like, I feel sacred geometry. So you may even want to research sacred geometry. Akashic record, we talked about that recently too. But this, you know, this means something. And I also love that in the Locust card in the beginning, you know, it's like there's that yellow, the sun, but it kind of looks like it's like there's a sun, and this is supposed to be a representation of the full moon, right? So interestingly enough, we've got April 30th, like I said, is a partial solar eclipse, at least where I live. And then on the next full moon in Scorpio will be a full lunar eclipse. That means something, the sun and the moon for you guys. Okay, you got, oh, also my eyes were just drawn to my literary witches up here. So that could be a little plug for some of you, you know, that maybe these people or whoever this is are holding you back. They wanted you to see that imagery. You know, maybe they're holding you back from where you come. Also, Spirit is saying, look at this tree. That tree too was once just a small little tree until it grew into this tree. So things take time, you know, of course it's going to hurt. It hurts. Change and transformation can be very, very hard, but it's time now, and you need to forgive it and forgive this person. You know, what's that old saying? Forgive them, for they know not what they do. You know, especially if they're in Muggle mind right now. You can't control a Muggle mind. You know, they got to do what they need to do right now until they come into their magic, or they don't ever recognize magic at all on this planet, you know. Anyway, you are loved and supported. All of my information is in the description box below, and I'll see you next time. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Welcome, pile number 2. I was trying to make it all like fun and sunshine, and it was like, no. And then I heard that song, oh, I love the nightlife. I love to boogie on the disco. Oh, yeah. You know that song? I don't know the words completely. So I actually felt like this kind of like nightlife energy, like partying, like when I seen the palm tree. So as I told the other pile, I will say the same to you. Also, when I looked down, it was 4334. So research angel number 4334 is medicine in there for you if you're drawn to it. If not, no worries. If this is your first time here, welcome. You'll hear me sometimes say certain things like that. If you hear me calling off a number, it's an angel number for you to research and look up. And yeah, so this was really intense. So I could not find the book that goes with this. And so Spirit was, if you didn't watch the little messages from Spirit for the collective at the beginning, we spoke about how the book that goes with this, it's not where it normally is. So it is for you to research. And yes, trees, everything has like spirit medicine. So you would just put in like, you know, palm spiritual meaning, palm tree spiritual meaning, something like that, or palm tree spirit medicine, whatever feels good. Okay. So so that was the beginning right there. Are there any other channeled messages before I go to the cards, Spirit? I'm hearing Gretchen. I don't know if that means anything, but it just came in really quickly. So I don't know if that's a spirit guide. Oh, I got the chills. So I don't know if that's a spirit guide, a grandparent, a family member, ancestor. Maybe you like the name. Maybe your name's Gretchen. Ooh, interesting. And that was it. And Tony. I have a spirit guide named Tony. Is that you, Tony? No. So a name Tony. They're just giving you, it feels like a female though, like Toni. Interesting. So the first card we're pulling for you guys from the dark mirror is Downcast Pride. This card is all about ego. So we're in the transition and forgiveness stage. What do you need to transition out of? What do you need to forgive? You know, also the number 20 is duality. But look at those roots. Like, I want to kind of go down a little bit. Yeah, look at that. I love these cards. I mean, what? With her cool, like, Medusa looking hair. But but it's not, right? It's not snakes. It's like trees. And the fact that you've got roots coming from your neck, roots like growing from your head. You guys, I'm also hearing, it's interesting because I got a false positive there, meaning like it seemed like they were trying to say, what did you say, Spirit? Normally I like to put the palm tree in the front, but I feel like it's more like your mascot today. And we're going to work with these cards. Okay. So what did you say? Give me just 1 second. As above, so below. Yes. Like you guys are natural, you're natural psychics. You're natural, you're so connected. That's why they're saying as above, so below, meaning like you are connected to the stars, you are connected to the earth. I'm feeling a lot of old soul energy. Also, I think it's interesting that you're pile number 2 and it's number 2. But 2 is all about duality. So see how it's like light here and dark here? Even though we're dealing with the shadow, I feel like for this pile, I feel like you guys are more on the on your way out of the dark night of the soul. I've been talking about this for a few weeks, and it makes sense that this is coming up for us because we're going into shadow right now. In real time, today is April 23rd. It's the third quarter moon, and a week from today, it's going to be the new moon, but it's also a black moon. That means that when there's 2 new moons in the same moon cycle and the same month cycle. So we will be starting eclipse season. We'll be starting with the solar eclipse. And then we're going to have a lunar eclipse in May. I'll give you the exact. Oh, it's May 15th to 16th. And right there, it's like, wow. Okay, so we've got eclipses like right there. And then sandwiched in between there, Mercury is going in retrograde on May 10th. So some intense stuff that we're going to be dealing with. And I'm getting from Spirit that this is the time you're going to have to really downcast your pride because of who you are and because of what you bring to the table. 4750. They're insistent on me pulling the card or reading the card. So in this deck, in the dark mirror deck, they show moon cycles. You can see it here. This is obviously a new moon because, it's so dark. But do you see that? And in the other cards, you'll see, unless you pull all new moons, but very, very interesting. And then they also go through the 7 stages of death, right? Because anytime we're going through a change or a transformation, we do have to go through the 7 stages of death. We have to mourn it. We have to, it's like we get depressed and sad that we have to let something go. Then we're bargaining. You're like, well, what if I do this? Then we're in denial. Well, I don't want to, until we finally get to acceptance. And so in this phase, it's the new moon, as I said, and this stage is depression, which is very interesting because I didn't feel that from you guys. It says bending to adapt becomes an excuse for the habit of bending. The visual seed is the eyes dark with dried blood tears look downwards. Okay, I thought you should be able to look at it because it's such a cool card. Okay, so the eyes dark with dried blood tears look downwards. The face of a dark-skinned beautiful elf with gold laurels among her hair is stern and motionless. Roots plunge into her body from a golden collar. The sky behind her is as gray as concrete. The sentence is, the root of sadness and grief is deeper than the skin. The only delusion is the gray sky. And this is a part they call going dark in this deck. And it says survival is a direct consequence of adaptation. What we call adaptation is not the result of a subtle but constantly constructed change of ourselves, but rather a mockery of it. As we are stripped day by day of our dignity in order to avoid conflict with a world that would spread us apart. Oh, that's so powerful. How can we endure this? Maybe through the power of responsibility, or maybe through a hidden core of identity. Sometimes we don't use the best part of us, but rather we draw from the ugliest. We survive and bend our knees because we draw out from our laziness, fear, and disgust. We let our deepest roots go dry, replaced by what can only be called a surge of lack of self-esteem. Also, my throat chakra, like my throat all of a sudden just felt like a desert. Drink some water. Like seriously, pause and go drink some water. I don't care if you're cozy in bed. I don't care if you're like, oh, I want to. They're like, drink some water. You guys are dehydrated. I drink water all day long. That's pretty much all I drink. So I can tell, like, it was all of a sudden I felt like my throat was closing up. So we let our deepest roots go dry, replaced by what only can be called a surge of lack of self-esteem. We are deluded when we think that we are only sacrificing our pride. We cling to vanity, but we can't afford dignity. Isn't that sad? Honestly, the true delusion is our faith in fall and winter, while we discard spring and summer as fairy tales. Oh, that's so powerful. The sky can change color too. As long as we sometimes look up, we can notice it. So this book was actually written in another language. I believe Spanish is their native language. It's either Spanish or Italian. I can't remember now. But anyway, so they're translating it. That's why sometimes it's like really dramatic like that, but I love it, because the Romance languages are more dramatic. I wish, in English, we've learned to be very proper, and, those of us who speak English or grew up in because even if you're American, quote unquote American, it's still derived from like the Queen's English, right? In England. So it's like a whole different thing. And this keeping up with the Joneses and, I'm feeling it. What other messages? Okay, so transition and forgiveness. That's a big one right there. So let's put this beautiful angel back. And put her here so you can see her. That fairy, no, the elf. Oh, look at this. Number 23, revenge. Fuck. Look at her. Damn. She is not playing. Let me get in here so you can see her face. I think her eyes are bleeding too. What's up with the blood? And the swords. And, swords represent communication, cutting through the bullshit, speaking our truth. There's no joke in that. Wow, revenge. I'm just going to jump right into this one because it's pretty intense. So 23 is also number 5. 5 is all about change and transformation. That's exactly what we're in right now. Very powerful. So the moon phase is the waning gibbous, which is literally what we just came off of. So if you're drawn to any other piles, I highly suggest you go and watch them. But very interesting. So we just came off the waning gibbous energy. We are in the third quarter energy of the transition and forgiveness. So, and then the stage of this one is anger. It says, it is time to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing, end them. The visual seed is a complex magic glyph illuminates the ground as a pale woman dressed in black seems to surge from it. Oh yeah, see this? She has blood crimson eyes, a white flower garland, and 2 plain swords. Her wings are made of withered branches. The sentence is, there is no white night, but there can be a black storm woven by fallen angels. The going dark is, what if there was a place where there is no more time for words? No more sense to bargain or negotiate. No more survival instinct excuse me, Freudian slip, interesting. No more survival instinct to accept fear or ponder consequences. It's a place we can reach at the limit of our abuse, with the last spark of our dignity surging up as a powerful black flame. We cry, we hurt, and we strike to destroy. We destroy not for ourselves, because we are gone. We destroy for that fairness of the world. We destroy because if there is no sweet justice, there can be at least cruel revenge. We destroy for those who came earlier, for those who would have come later. We destroy, and as we destroy, we forsake ourselves. There is no going back, because coming back from that requires much more than force. Wow. And, you know, interesting. So, one of my favorite stories by Agatha Christie is, it's the one on the Nile. Why can't I think of it right now? Death on the Nile, I think it's called, or something like that. And that's exactly what it's about. It's about revenge. And it's just interesting to watch these people who are going for revenge, like die, you know, one by one, or they're going, you know, they're fighting against what is like the natural, you know, path of things because of something that they want or something that they didn't get. So if you're interested, read Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile or watch one of their many movies. They actually just had a brand new one with Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. And it's a plethora of famous actors. It was a really good one, actually. Annette Bening's in it. It's really neat. But, you know, and they're all based on Poirot, I think is how they say it. Hercules Poirot. And he's an investigator. And the fact that these are all coming into my mind, anytime something comes into my mind during a reading like this, especially when, like, you know, I just watched it or I just saw something or I was like, you know, it means something. Also, the ant keeps showing up. So look up ant spirit medicine, because ants are all about patience. I mean, the first stage you were in, you know, with the elf here was depression. And then with this beautiful goddess who looks like a witch to me, she almost looks like a dark witch with, you know, or maybe a dark angel. And that's anger. So we've got depression and anger. And if you think about it, it's really profound because they're very different things. It's almost as if like you were here in this like sad place and instead of like taking care of it, it festered and festered and festered until it got to this, where now it's like dark as fuck. And she's like conjuring spells and shit. And she's like, you know, I'm going to, you know, look at her. She's got 2 swords. Also, I mean, you can even look at this as the 2 of Swords in the tarot. It's very powerful card, you guys. So let's see if there are any more messages. Transition and forgiveness. And I feel like they're not giving, it feels very generic almost, like, because you all are dealing with different things. And the revenge could be multiple. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily about love or relationships. I feel like this could be multiple things. Okay. Oh, interesting. Oh my gosh. And then look at this. It's like a combination of the 2. Sacrifice, number 7. I was feeling the number 7 before you're reading. That's so interesting. And look at that. Look at them. Another sword. But this time, she's got her armor on. She's not playing. Right? Hold on. Okay. I mean, seriously, this is why I put a disclaimer at the beginning of this reading, because I knew this was going to be no joke. And those of you who've never been here before, sometimes my phone breaks up and sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see what happens. Thank you for following the links. Number 7, sacrifice. The moon phase is the waning gibbous. We just came out of that. What did I just said? And that's about reflect and release. That's what that energy is. Also, I think it's interesting that right now, today is a number 7 because we're in the 3rd quarter moon, but it's in the 7th moon cycle of transition and forgiveness. So that's very, 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 very interesting. Another stage of anger. It says, even if I have to break apart, as long as it serves a purpose. The visual seed is a beautiful female knight wears heavy armor. She holds a blade in front of her, and a blade of light slices across her face, showing the deadly seriousness of her stare, the mirror of her resolve. The sentence is, I have accepted my duty, and in my release, I found freedom. Now, since we're going to go dark, I'm going to go dark so you can kind of see, look at that. Whoever did these cards are really smart because, I mean, they did it so well that it, you know, look at that little bit of illumination over her eye. And her blue eye kind of reminds me of angels too. So going dark, it says, there is a strong power in sacrifice. Our fears, our hopes, they are all I was going to say claims. What's up with the Freudian slips today? There is a strong power in sacrifice. Our fears, our hopes, they are all chains to a small world. Our sense of self is a small, petty creature of uncertain resolve and shaky horizons. With sacrifice, we renounce our sense of self. We accept to be lost. We accept to be shaken and cut and bruised and hurt and burdened and locked and stricken and despised and gossiped about and betrayed and misunderstood and left alone to rot, to die, with just words of thanks while the world goes on over our broken dreams as if nothing happened. But when we drown our sense of self to sacrifice, we are also a greater person. We are screaming, I exist! I make a difference. We accepted a price to pay, and we used our blood and tears as currency. That gave us the right to stand tall. Wow. So what I find fascinating about this is, in the Downcast Pride, she's like kind of more young, and she's got blonde hair. In this picture, she's still young, but it's like she's gone dark. And this almost feels like a representation of the balance of light and dark with you guys. And then I feel like this is like your culmination. But what Spirit's trying to say is, don't sacrifice your health or your happiness for another person. This Rosemary has been coming in since the beginning of this reading. So get some rosemary. Research rosemary. It's protective qualities. I love burning rosemary. It's, to me, way more powerful than sage in a lot of ways, especially for my magicians and my witches and those who, are connecting to all different worlds all the time, working with the occult, like that kind of stuff. So, and I feel like it's like once you got through all that, now you're ready. It's like, the light came back into your eyes, so to speak. Like the light is back in your eyes. And you know that you can be angry, but you don't have to go at it with revenge. Because if you go at it with revenge, the fact that she has her sword up in her chest, I mean, look at in this one. It's like back here, it's like her swords are down. She's like, I'm ready to fight. Come on, come on, motherfucker. Like, she's like, let's go. And this one, she's like, I don't want to have to fight. But if I do, I'll do what I have to do. And Spirit's saying, that's admirable and awesome, but you can't go into it with anger. Use that sort of communication to break through whatever it is, you need to transition out of and forgive. It's going to be different for all of you guys. So I'm going to put her back here now. And our next card is Peaceful Among Thorns. Oh, I love this card. This is actually one of my favorite cards in the deck. So it's really powerful that you guys got this. Look at that. Peaceful Among Thorns. Oh, wait till you see this. It's so amazing. I just realized when I looked down and saw the moon cycle. So it's the first quarter moon. So we are in the third quarter, which means that's 2 weeks away. So whatever this is, I feel like, it's not like do, 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 do. But it's like, you can't just sit around and wait for things to happen. You have to do it on your own. You have to take the first steps. But they're saying, look at this peaceful warrior. I feel like you guys kind of started. Let's back up a little bit. Oh, look at how she's in light. The face. But do you see that? See the progression? It's like sad, despair. What do I do? Then it's like, I'm taking action, but I'm pissed off. And I'm going to show everybody how pissed off I am. I'm going to, you know what I mean? And they're saying, what's that old saying? You get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. So now look at this. If you take this anger and rage and hate out of your heart, not only will you cure the depression, but you will cure your soul. Because it's that old adage, you're taking the poison and expecting the other person to die. It's like you put poison in one cup, right? And one drink and not in the other. You know which one has poison in it. And the person comes in and they sit down and you say, grab a drink, and they grab the one without the poison, would you continue to drink the poison and die? Right? No, because you don't want them to die. Who wants that on their conscience? I mean, besides like going to jail or anything, like the literal of like hurting someone, but you know what I mean? It's like the whole metaphor of it, you know? And a lot of times people are oblivious to what kind of pain and suffering that they're inflicting on other people. So if you're dealing with someone or someones who are oblivious to your pain and don't see you, you feel, you know, I mean, you've got 2 cards right here, 2 cards that are bleeding from the eyes out of how many cards in a deck? I don't know how many cards in the deck have bleeding eyes, but I think it's pretty interesting that you pull 2, right? So it's like you're the one that's dying on the inside, you know? Or even like in this, it's like vampires, right? Because in a lot of mythology, vampires cry blood, not tears, because they don't have water, so they cry blood, right? Because they're dead. And I feel like that's like you guys. It's almost like you were like this light angel, and then you just started to go so dark, you started to bleed from your eyes. You were like dying on the inside. No matter how connected you were to the top or the bottom, it didn't matter. And then so you're like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna rogue. I'm gonna go dark. I'm gonna fuck shit up. Spirit's like, you can do that, but just remember that karma is very, 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 very real. And you're allowed to get angry and be mad, you know? I'm going to go down a little bit so you can see this in a little darker. Then we move on to here, right? And you see the light starting to shine back on. And where's the light coming from? It's reflecting off of her sword. Because that's spirit reminding you that you're not this. Right? You're this. This is what really lives inside of you. And did you notice how more intricate this card got when we went down in the lighting? It's very powerful. So the stage is acceptance. Beautiful, right? Because this is once you get out of that, once you transition and forgive all that, forgive them, forgive yourself, you'll be here in the acceptance stage. And it says the spiritual can't solve the material, but it can transcend it. The visual seed is a futuristic monk, his skin crossed by small circuitry, meditates in the lotus position. An 8-pointed star inscribed within a circle is at his back. Like thorns piercing the air, a golden lotus aura envelops his body. Coexistence of the material and the spiritual is the human way to enlightenment. And the going dark in this card and this message is, we talk too much about spiritual stuff. Spiritual this, spiritual that. Not that the spiritual side isn't important, especially in an age when everything seems reduced to a materialistic drive. But aren't we going too much to the other side? I have a money problem. Go spiritual. I have a health problem. Go spiritual. I have a love problem. Think of true love and go spiritual. I want to have sex. Go spiritual. If we were truly able to solve problems like this, what is spiritual would have been sold in grocery stores. Sometimes to solve money problems, you need money. And to solve love problems, you need to fuck. Strange, but true. Getting spiritual is not what solves our problems. It is what gives depth to our solutions. It makes them meaningful. It takes us from the small to the wide, from the river to the ocean. But sometimes we are not ready to make it our center. And therefore, it's perfectly fine if we do not. Those are your messages, pile number 2. I hope they helped you in any way. And if you would like to book a reading with me, purchase a recorded video of your session without a one-on-one. It's like half the rate. Or if you would like to donate to this channel, all of my information is in the description box below. Listen to that, my throat chakra. I see they're telling me to speak my truth. Is there anything else you want to say, Spirit? Oh, and for some of you, crystals and stones would be very beneficial to you. If you haven't been working with crystals and stones, use your intuition. Go have fun. Take yourself on a fun little field trip. And if you don't have a lot of money, that's okay. A lot of crystal stores, you can even call around and be like, do you have like little dollar bins? Because they have like, where, you know, it's like a small, you know, like something like this. You know, like a little agate is like $1. But, you know, if you need rose quartz or you need a quartz crystal or something like that, you know, $5, you can get the 5 things that you need. It doesn't have to be super expensive. Okay, you guys, those are your messages. I'll see you next time. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Welcome, pile number 3. I heard that song, don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me, anyone else but me. I love this card. If you didn't watch the beginning, this deck was actually created by one of my shamans and one of her friends who is an artist, and she painted all of these different trees, and then my shaman went in and did all the spirit medicine behind the trees. And this one, I love it because this is their interpretation of it, but I'm always like, you have to really get in there to see the apples. You see that? Because if you go, look, if I go too dark, you can't really see it. But I do like that in between there, it almost looks like there's images here, like, you know, that kind of looks like a bird or whatever. So this could be for my scryers. I see like a dog in there. I see a bow. I see hearts. But there could be, maybe you just chose it because you love apples. I mean, there could be many reasons why you chose this particular one. But that's your homework, is to look up apple spiritual meaning, apple tree spirit meaning. Okay. Because I do have a book that goes through this, and it was cleverly hidden from me because there's no reason why I wouldn't. I'm so organized. so yeah, so that's for you to look up. Also, I tried to move things around, but they wanted this here on purpose. Like, this flame is here on purpose, and I'm sure we'll get to that. So let's see what messages. We are in the 3rd quarter moon phase and transition and forgiveness. What do you need to work through? We are working with the Dark Mirror Oracle. It is working with our shadow side. Also, when I looked down, it was 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 12 seconds. Like, I just missed the 11. So it was like almost all ones. But also, if those other numbers added up mean anything to you. Okay, so what messages do we have to hear about our shadow side? You know, what is in this transition and forgiveness for pile number 3? What do they need to hear about their shadow side, or from their shadow self? Ooh, hiding your true self. Hiding your true self. Number 14. Ooh, which is also the number 5, which is about change and transformation. Let me get in here so you can really see it. See how she's hiding? And then she opens up her, and you can see. All right, I'm going to put the apple back here. Okay. Also, my Making Magic deck, not my deck, but it's in my possession, but this, do you see over here? That wanted to be seen too. And also the energy deck over here. So this is a amethyst up here. It's the only crystal that wanted to come in today. Although I did, well, it doesn't normally have sparkles on it, that's glitter, but this is a rainbow calcite. So if you're interested in getting a really good crystal or stone to help with creativity, rainbow calcite is awesome. This is one of my favorite pieces. It was actually like almost twice as big as this. It also looks like a heart sometimes, depending on how. So I'll bring that in just because it was the only one that was kind of on the side. So amethyst and rainbow calcite. Oh, when I looked down, it was 1 hour, 13 minutes, and 13 seconds. So there's something there for you guys. 13 is also very witchy. I was about to read from the book, from the Hiding Your True Self, but then they asked me to bring this one up as well at the same time. So let me move this so I don't burn myself. Sorry. Fragmentation, number 27. Look at that. So in these cards, we have the 7 stages of death and moon cycles. Okay. So we're going to start with number 14. And the moon cycle. Oh my gosh. I knew it by looking at it, but I just realized that this is the 3rd quarter moon. Like, I looked at it, but sometimes because, you know, the light and the dark, even though I've been studying the moons for several years, I still can't help but sometimes, like, I see it and I'm like, wait, is that 1st quarter or is that last quarter? You think, but yeah. Anyway, so interesting that today is the third quarter moon and you guys grabbed this one. And it says the stage, it's like the 7 stages of death, right? So it's acceptance. And it says hiding is keeping things inside. Luck, I think they're saying luck. Also, this deck is from another language, so it was translated into English. And so I find typos or I find misspellings or whatever, but it says luck of trust becomes a lack of hope. So I think what they're trying to say is lack of trust becomes lack of hope. But the fact that the word luck is in there, I feel like that's meant for a reason. You know what I mean? Even if they didn't catch it. So there's something there, okay? So lack of trust becomes lack of hope. So there must be a limit. Hiding is keeping things inside. The visual seed is, in the dazzling light, there's a hint of a door. Like the door to a Haman? Again, it's another language, so I'm not sure exactly what they're saying. But do you see the doorway right here? I apologize, you guys. This feels very scattered. Are you guys feeling really scattered? Because you're my third pile, and I felt pretty damn good until now I'm feeling really scattered in your piles. So there's obviously something going on here. So there's that doorway that they spoke of. I just always like to have you see it up close. So I'm not sure what he's saying. So let me read it. I'll be right back. Okay, according to this card, it says, it's saying there's 2 women, one under the sign of the sun and one beneath the sign of the moon. But I'm like, I don't really see, you know, do you guys see anything? Let me see if we go in there. I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. Sometimes if I go darker in these imagery, I still don't see what he's saying. Do you guys see it? Anyway, so there's that. I'm going to leave it like that because that imagery is really cool right now. The sentence is, you could be in front of the mirror or you could hide behind the mirror, yet you chose to be the mirror. Okay, interesting. So going dark, that's what they say in this card when they're talking about what we need to get to the bottom of. And it says, hiding is a survival instinct. Do you want to be honest and truly be yourself? Very few people will accept you then. You are too complicated to be comfortable, too contradictory to be easy, too exceptional to be believed, too plain to be considered. You can be the sun, you can be the moon, you can be the door, you can be the road, you can be the butterfly and the brick. Maybe the question is not if, but when. Sometimes real solitude is when there is not a right moment to be yourself and not the right person, and neither the right way. Being yourself is like a moment at the spa. It is a massage for the soul, a purification process that brings in oxygen and turns away age and wear. It is bliss and pleasure. I also think it's interesting that it's like, this also feels like Gemini to me. So you could be a Gemini or dealing with a Gemini, because it's interesting because it's like a duality of like two. It can also, I also feel Pisces energy in there. But I think it's interesting that this one is, you know, hiding your true self. And then this one is, let me put this back over here. And then this one over here is fragmentation. And that's what happens, right? Like fragmentation would mean like that she's like broken up. And that's exactly what this feels like. Like there's one face that you show the world. Let's go dark again. It's like there's one face that you show the world and one face that you show like yourself and other people. And Spirit's saying like, that's why you feel fragmented. You need to transition out of that and forgive, you know, them for judging, forgive them for, you know, however, whatever they want to do is what they're going to do. This isn't you cannot rely on what other people think of you. With the fragmentation card, we're going to jump to that one. The moon phase is the waxing crescent. Oops. And you can see that above their head there. You see that? I'm staying in close because it looks cool. All right. And the stage is anger. So interesting that you know, there's the 7 stages of death. And acceptance is the last one. And it's interesting that it's like you've accepted that this is who you are. You know, hiding your true self, like you've accepted that. I'm just going to hide who I am. That way it's just easier. That's the thing is like Spirit's like, but that's, you're trying to take the easier road, but the easier road isn't going to get you anywhere. And hiding isn't going to get you anywhere. So it says when rage is projected inward, destruction joins confusion and we break. The visual seed is what seems to be a cold. Oh, that's this right here. And I'm going to back up just a little bit because I want you to be able to see the whole imagery of it because it's really neat. Okay. What seems to be a cold iron coat rack is topped by a broken stone statue of a fairy, visible only from the chest up. Stone roses are at her breasts. A crack cuts her face and her body. A jewel is on her forehead, and silvery insect wings stand at her back. A crescent gold slice of the moon is like a halo from behind her head. It is possible to glimpse, suspended in the void, also the hands of the stone fairy. Okay, the sentence is, losing a sense of self is a crescendo of noise and a decrescendo of pain and a prelude to nothingness. Wow. Going dark. If I were to cut off my legs, would I still be me? If I were to carve out my heart, would I still be me? If my flesh would turn to stone, if my lungs were emptied of air, if my dream to fly were to be forced in chains and hung out like an expired balloon, would I still be me? I fought and I lost, broken beyond recognition, not by the shallow sight of bystanders who can pity, but who can't understand. I cannot even recognize myself through the sobs, through the tears, and when silence finally comes, trough the empty emotions and the conventional smiles. Who did this to me? I did, maybe, maybe not. What is broken can be mended. Not so that it returns to whole, but at least until it tells his name anew, my name, and who will do that to me? I will. Yeah, so it's like you've done this to yourself. This is the hard part, right? Like if whatever you're feeling right now, like whatever, this is going to be different for all you guys. This is one of the first readings in a long time where like with the other piles too, where Spirit didn't give me like a clear, concise, like what it is for you guys to focus on. It's like, because it's different for all of you guys, but these messages will ring true. You'll understand them. That's what they're telling me. And that's all that matters. Okay. So envious gluttony. Oh, envious gluttony. Envious gluttony. That's an icky. That's not, look at their claw-like feet. Do you see that? This card always kind of not wigs me out, but it's just definitely, there's like, look at it. I mean, look at the alligator head on top with kind of like blood, looks like blood dripping from the teeth. That's really powerful. I'm going to put this in the middle because that's what I feel like they want me to do. Okay, when I looked down, it was 122.33. So if that means anything, angel number 2233 or adding them up. Okay, so the moon phase is the waxing gibbous. The stage is denial. And it says, going to the edge of the ravine, savoring the idea of letting go of all restraint. The visual seed is, let's go in there. A man has rotting, sickly skin and yellow eyes. He dresses in tatters, and sticky blood runs down his chin. He has clawed feet and a crown of a skeleton alligator jaw. The upper part on his head, the lower part on his chest like a gaping mouth. Ooh, yeah, that's interesting. I just noticed that. The sentence is, there is hunger sleeping just under the surface like an animal lurking. It says, this dark is not just dark, it is unpleasant, sickly, and disgusting. Yeah, ugh. The difference in the how we feel in front of a vampire as opposed to in front of writhing bugs. It's not an existential darkness that we can paint of romance, drama, and subtle anguish. It is raw, primal, reeking of rotting stench. It feels like there is darkness, and in that black landscape there is a hole leading to an even greater darkness, and that is calling you. The urge is pressed down every time, played with, toyed with, treated like something that doesn't belong here. It's like rolling in the mud, bringing out the twisted, refreshing feeling of demeaning oneself. The key is that we don't want to recognize the depth of the envy and anger. We casted it out of ourselves, and now it's truly a parasitic monster, impossible to accept as something that came out of ourselves. But what if we bring the light to the pitch dark as well? What if the scary monster is just a scrawny, starved feeling? What if it's just a little thing? Dark as tar indeed, but to be sorry of? not to be feared. You know, I've been hearing this from a lot of people. A lot of you guys, if you're in this tribe, we've worked together one-on-one. We've done a lot of heavy spirit work together. And you know, you've said to me, a lot of you have said to me, I'm so dark. Like this darkness has been coming out of me. Like, what's happening? And I'm like, it's part of you. You cannot run away from it. You cannot run away from it. You know, and you can't even fly away from it with your wings. You have to deal with it. You know, one of the things I've been saying for years is we have to get through it to get to it. And that's exactly where you guys are right now. You're in a transitional phase. But you have to forgive it. Also, this kind of looked like a little ghost face right there. So I feel like, you know, when you're getting to a point where it's just too dark and it's just too, you know, do something fun. Bring yourself into the light. And like they said, it's like, it's all perception, right? You can look at, like, we're reading these cards, so we're going to read it dark. But what if I were to read this card and I was like, oh, this is a powerful shaman. And you know what I mean? You'd be like, oh, cool. I pulled the shaman card. You know, it's all perspective. So Spirit's saying the darkness is beautiful and lovely just as much as the light. You must love all of yourself. The darkness, the light, it's part of you. Oh, you guys, this is the card that I pulled for the collective. I spoke about it at the beginning. Fated to suffer. Are we fated to suffer? That's a good question. Are we fated to suffer? Well, on Earth, yeah. I mean, you know, this isn't, if this were a planet that we didn't have any problems, you know, we'd be like running around, you know, eating cotton candy and playing with unicorns. You know what I mean? It's like Earth is a training school for our soul. It's a place for us to come and really experience what it's like to suffer. But that doesn't mean that we need to stay in it. We need to go in the ebbs and the flow. But when we're in the darkness, we need to stay there until we work through it. We can't just keep pushing it down. And that's what I was getting from this. Like, you're hiding your true self. You don't want people to see your dark side. You don't want, you know, like my one friend said, she's like, I don't want you to see this side of me. She's like, look away, I'm hideous. You know, I was like, dude, so we all are. I'm going through some dark shit right now too. So is my partner. We had a huge fight today about it. And I was just like, I can't deal, you know, but then I realized, like, that's what they're going through. And, you know, for better or worse, that's, you know, but it doesn't mean I have to live in it, you know? So just like, hey, let's talk about how we can make things a little bit better. So maybe you just need to open the conversation with somebody, you know, maybe it's just yourself. Maybe the conversation needs to change between, you know, loving yourself, your self-love. So the moon phase is the waxing gibbous, which we, you know, it's interesting. Wasn't the last one the waxing gibbous? I believe it is. And then the stage is depression. And it says feeling confined into a script forced by other or another and never really fought, heading toward a destination of pain. The visual seed is, let me get in there. I'll go down a little bit because it looks cool. In the confines of a foggy forest, a misshaped woman hands a green and red apple to a younger woman with red lips dressed as a servant. The sentence is, if you know the future, you forsake your choices. Only with no fate, life is free to unfold into unknown shores. Going dark. Once upon a time, we believed in fairy tales. They were the voice of common sense, the educational tool which prepared us to duty, danger, and morals. Some things we would never accept if they were told by one single voice. So the world arranges us to hear them with 1,000 voices, 1,000,000 voices. It's about what you can do and what you can't do, what you're worth, what you can aspire to. It's about what you like, what you want, what you hold dear. It creates a script which becomes as strong as all the voices that believe that script combined. So much that you cannot see another path. Are you truly seeing Snow White in this card? Is this story truly the only one that this image can ever tell? What if the apple is not poisoned? What if the witch isn't evil at all? Is that the same as what you look for in your life? Is it truly what you think it is? Are there not any other options? Is the opinion of others honestly better than your own? If they are many and we are only one, are you fated to suffer? It is not that there is no suffering in the world. The point is that there is no fate. And I'm telling you, when I read that, it knocked me off my socks. Because what I realized what they were trying to say is, if you're trying to control an outcome, you're trying to control the way people perceive you, you're trying to control, right? If that's where you're at right now, it's like, then you're trying to control some fate. And what Spirit is saying is, we think that there's some fate. And I realize that even in my own teachings, or even in things that I say to myself, I'll say to Spirit, is it, is this in my greatest and highest good? Or I'll say, is this meant to be? Or is this the outcome? Is this, And so I realized it's like, we're always going to end up at the exact same place we're supposed to, but we have a plethora of trails and choices in front of us that we can take at any given moment. But the point is, we have to get moving. And the ant just came in again. There's been this rogue ant that's been like hanging out for like the last few days. It's been really interesting. So if you didn't research ant spirit medicine and some of the other readings that you've seen in the last few days, last few weeks, or whenever you watch these, I don't know if you watch them all, research it. Ant spirit medicine. They're talking to us about this for a reason. The patience, the patience, the patience. That's what I'm feeling like from Spirit. Okay, do we have any more messages for pile number 3? Any more messages, Spirit? Okay. Now we have obsession number 3. And this may have gone to another video, and I don't know, or maybe it will, but I'm just putting that out there in case. So obsession. This kind of reminds me of one of the other piles, if you were drawn to one of the other piles, obsession. Okay, I'm going to go down a little bit on there too. So it's the waxing crescent, and the stage is denial. There is nothing else that can replace my focus. So this is what you're telling yourself. There's nothing else that can replace my focus. That's your denial stage. The visual seed is an elven face with hair entwined with bark and thorns, stares at a blank, clear, empty, round mirror.